What's up, people? How we doing? We just got to let it breathe. Yes, indeed. We're live. We got to let it breathe. Last night, Facebook wasn't trying to play ball. Yesterday, I guess wasn't exactly nighttime. Hopefully today, it's all good. And we are almost just about, I'm going. Welcome in, everybody. Mile High Huddle podcast, the aftermath episode this week. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, the Denver Broncos are now winners of 6 straight. And it just so happens that when it comes to the AFC playoff picture, the Broncos at 7-2 currently are tied for the best record in the AFC, but they're in the 3 seed behind the Colts, the Patriots, and their current playoff probability, according to the league itself, 90%.
Yeah, the Broncos for right now are in the driver's seat, Chad. They control their own destiny as long as they keep winning games, especially Thursday, a team they should beat in the Raiders. And it's a tough matchup against the Chiefs after that. But if they can win those 2 games and start to create separation in the AFC West, then it's fait accompli that they'll be in the postseason.
So here's a look at this, boys and girls. Behind the Broncos in the 3 seed, you have the Steelers at 4. But look at their playoff probability, 60%. Then you have the Bills at 5, 93%, which is actually better than the current division leader. So the league likes Buffalo's remaining schedule, I think, a bit better than the Patriots. Then the 6th seed is currently the Chargers, who Zach suffered another brutal personnel loss with Joe Alt going down for the season. So they've lost both of their left tackles. And then the Jaguars at 7, that's the AFC. And on the bubble are the Chiefs, who are 5-4, 68% probability. It's still very good chances. So they can still kind of control their path here. The Texans, who the Broncos just vanquished, they're at 27%. Then you get into the real dim stuff. So, and then real quick, just to be, cover all the bases. Eagles are the 1 seed, Bucks in the NFC, Seahawks 3, Packers 4, Rams 5, Niners 6, Lions 7. But don't look now, Zach, you got some unlikely cats there at 8 and 9 in the Bears and the Panthers. Kind of interesting that they're right on the bubble, with one of which is a second-year quarterback, second year. And then the Panthers still with a young quarterback they're developing.
Yeah, those were 2 of the crazier games that took place yesterday. In addition to the Broncos game, Caleb Williams versus Joe Flacco, and then Bryce Young beating the Packers at Green Bay. So, yeah, the NFC is pretty up in the air. We know the best teams in the AFC, and right now, Chad, the Broncos are one of those best teams.
Feels good, baby. It feels good, no doubt about it. We got some stuff to get into tonight. First of all, some quick hellos. Papa Bear, what's going on, big dog? It's great to see you. Thank you so much for the support and for being a member. He says, good evening, Broncos country. 13-4 plus is 14-3 possible. Zach, can you see with what remains of this schedule? You got to face the Chiefs twice, the Chargers again. Tough matchups, one on the road, one at home against the Commanders and Packers. Could you see the Broncos losing only one more game?
I'll say, David, what I've been saying all along, especially coming out of that Dallas game and the fourth quarter of the Philly game. If the Broncos play to their full potential, there is not a team in the NFL that they cannot beat. So is it possible? Absolutely, they can go 14-3. Is it likely? I'm not so sure. They've been scraping by the skin of their teeth. You can argue they've gotten lucky. They've been pulling victories out of the jaws of defeat, as we like to talk about around here. They're probably due for a loss. I don't know when that's going to happen, but there's a non-zero chance. Put it that way.
David Youngkin jumping in as well, a dear member and superstar. Great to have you, buddy. He says, I enjoyed the old school defensive battle. A lot of people didn't or don't, but that's the difference between being older and young. Yeah, I mean, the NFL, Zach, they want the scoring, they want the yardage, they want the points. But I think most fans of the team, like fans at large, generally speaking, that's what they want to see. It's where a lot of the excitement comes from. But I think Broncos fans, for the most part, they don't really care too much how it looks. They just want that dub.
And that's how it should be. Whether the game is 100-99, the final score, or 3-2, as long as the Broncos get these W's, style points don't matter in the NFL.
Sam Bam, fresh off of the Texas sweep, jumping in. Great to see one of our Super Chat superstars and dear members. He says, evening, guys. Another gritty win for the Broncos yesterday. I had a blast at the game despite being stressed for most of it. NRG Stadium was mostly orange yesterday, 7-2. Go Broncos. Yeah, dude. It really jumped out to me, Zach, when Will Lutz hit the game winner. It wasn't the stadium all of a sudden, of course, goes off, but not in boos and it's jeering. It was Broncos fans cheering that they just won the game. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's exactly how I knew the kick was good. I wasn't looking at the television, admittedly, Chad. I'm a little superstitious during the games, I'm not going to lie. Same as when I was in attendance for the Giants game. I knew the Broncos won by the roar of the crowd, and that's a road game. It's pretty crazy.
That it is. But, Sam, how cool for you, man? Back-to-back Bronco games, making the state of Texas sweep, dude. So cool. Colin, what's good, buddy? Great to see another great member and superstar in the house. He wants to know, now remember, tomorrow is the trade deadline. 2 p.m. Mountain Time, 4 p.m. Eastern. So he says, so if we trade for someone like Waddle, do they automatically become the wide receiver too? Feels obvious, but not at the same time. Also, Zach, why not sold on
Troy Franklin, I'm assuming?
Troy Franklin, yeah.
Cullen, the answer are these, his hands. He has all the talent in the world, and I still would like to give him a shot. I'm not saying trade him. I'm not saying bench him. He brings a lot to the offense, and he had the prior chemistry with Bo Nix, but I knock Cortland Sutton for the same thing, or Marvin Mims, or whoever drops passes. You have to squeeze the football, and more often than not, Troy Franklin was a little too short, too far in the route. It went off his fingertips. He's missing too many catchable balls, and that goes for everyone in the Broncos receiving corps. So I'm sold for the most part, but not fully quite yet.
It's almost like for Troy, obviously from his rookie year till this year, you can see, Zach, that the game has slowed down for him. You're seeing that with most of Denver's second-year guys. But I don't think it has fully slowed to the point that, it's going to be maybe even this time next year. You can still see things are moving a bit fast, but for the most part, I'm proud of what he's done. I'd like to see him be as productive against man coverage as he's been this season against zone, but he's just not game changer. He's not a game changer. Waddle could be, but what would you have to give up to get him? I would rather see how Troy Franklin continues to develop, keep bringing Marvin Mims along, Pat Bryant, Evan Ingram, as we saw yesterday, Zach, is mostly being wasted on this offense. So they have horses that they're not fully utilizing offensively to this point in the season.
Yeah, and Cullen, to answer the question directly, if they make any acquisition, whether it's Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed or Jalen Waddle, I think they would become the wide receiver too. You can't give up the draft capital, make the move, send the kind of message to the locker room that you would be sending, and bench that guy and make him the wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4. So I could make the case either way, for or against a trade. I still think it's unlikely, and like Chad said, they'll keep investing in the receivers they already have.
Hude Collins in the house. Hude, what's going on, big dog? Great to see you. Thank you for the super chat. Want to invite you. Become a member on YouTube, buddy. We need you in the inner circle. He says, evening, y'all. Great pod. Curious why you seem down on Troy Franklin. Without him, we lose versus the Giants, that deflected touchdown, and the Houston 2-pointer. He drops too many, but he's clutch. I don't think I'm down on him for what it's worth. I don't know. I just think, as I just mentioned, I just spent a second there kind of explaining my take on Troy Franklin, but he's progressing nicely. That's all I'll say. Could the Broncos, is there a better option out there to be a ostensibly upgraded number 2 for the Broncos? Yes, but at what cost relative to what you already have? So I think he'll continue to fill that spot. The Broncos are trying really hard, Zach, for his ascension to be complete this season, but he's on pace for something like 750, 800 yards as a number 2 receiver in this still kind of lower production passing offense. That ain't bad.
Yeah, I'm not sure where all this is coming from about how we're down on Troy Franklin. If you guys can remind me or us where we said that, I'd like to know. But you can't really be clutch and also drop too many passes. It's kind of an oxymoron. If he were to squeeze the ball and be more consistent for Bo Nix, then I would say he's earned that wide receiver 2 full-time spot. I just feel like you've always talked about they're trying to force this ascension with Troy Franklin, and I'm not sure at times, Chad, that he's up for it.
Exactly. But I'm stoked for him. I'm happy for him. I think he'll continue to develop, and it's not a huge pressing need, in my opinion. I mean, yes, the Broncos have dealt Zach with some pretty significant drop issues this season, but at the same time, Bo Nix himself has struggled quite a lot with accuracy at times. And we saw it yesterday. Most obviously, Zach, that missed out and up opportunity down the seam, the left seam there to Ingram, who ended up basically not getting anything yesterday. But guys, lots more to get to here today. First, though, listen up. Football, full swing. It's rocking, it's rolling, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Are you ready to get off the bench and into the game? You got to ask yourself this question. If you are, head over to Underdog to get in on it. Whether you're into basketball, whether it's football, whether it's this, we know football in this audience, hockey, any sport in between, Underdog is the best place to get in on that action all season long.
That's right. Playing an Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. Get your picks right, and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash.
It's so fun playing Underdog, and having the opportunity, guys, to win money while you're watching football is just makes it even more fun. It's a touchdown. So download the app today, Underdog. Sign up with the promo code MHuddle to score $100 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code MHuddle to score $100 in bonus entries when you play your first 5. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next?
Be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
All right. We go back to the chat here and some Facebookers. George, what's going on, buddy? Great to see you. Throwing down some stars tonight. Says, good evening, all of Broncos country. Now we go for our next game, and this one is important as it's the Raiders, Broncos for life, MHH for life. Hit the thumbs up, guys. Look, what I'm about to say, guys, don't get it twisted and misinterpret and think I'm worried about the Raiders, but this matchup I've been kind of dreading a little bit just because the Broncos don't have a great track record against Pete Carroll coached teams traditionally. And then you throw in, Zach, the recent history of going against Geno Smith. Again, both those guys, it's been in Seattle, what we're talking about here, right? But they've been kind of a dumpster fire. They put up some points yesterday, Zach. How are you feeling about the Raiders, it being Raider week on a short week and them as an opponent this week?
Well, I like Sean Payton. I'm just happy the Broncos are home for this game, a short week, primetime divisional game. It'll make it that much more advantageous for Denver, but it's a potential trap game for them too. The Raiders are, I think, 2-6 now. They have nothing to lose on the season, Chad. They would like nothing more than to spoil the playoff hopes of their division rival, the first place Broncos. They cannot, Denver, play down to this team, overlook this team, start to prepare for Kansas City or the bye week. They have to treat this 100% like it's a legitimate matchup because the Raiders damn sure will be.
Ronk, it's great to see the one of the core members of our community and a dear member. Thank you, buddy. Taylor Christensen jumping in. Thank you, pal, for the super chat. Zach, he says, quoting you, I don't want to squeak by Vegas. I want a blowout win. Bo and the offense did struggle, but again, against a top defense, I'll take that win. Look, I think you'll end up seeing a pretty convincing victory, Zach, on Thursday night because both teams are on the short week. It's not like it favors one or the other, but Pete Carroll, I don't know. I got a lot of respect for him, but he seems to have kind of lost his grip on things. Maybe it's his age. He's a lot older than he looks, but you see a blowout coming Thursday night?
Divisional games are so tough, Taylor. Fortunately, the Broncos got off the schneid with that Raiders losing streak. They snapped that under Sean Payton. I think the Broncos are going to win. I don't really care about style points, although historically this season, when they've gotten by an ugly game, especially on offense, the next game against an inferior team like the Cowboys on defense or the Giants, or the Bengals for that matter, they've exploded on offense. So I look for a comfortable win. I don't know, though, what you define as a blowout win, though.
Multiple score. I would say a blowout is 3 scores or more. But I think it's going to be somewhere right in between, like 2 or 3 scores. Yep. Broncos win. Same. That's how I'm feeling. Cullen's trying to specify, I guess, yesterday's pod. He's saying you weren't sold on him, so that's why we're wondering. But one thing you got to keep in mind, the gut reactions are the gut reactions because we're going straight off the cuff. The emotions are running high. It's whether it's a victory, whether it's a loss. And then, of course, we get the night to sleep on it, work out our hormones, et cetera, and here we are. You'll always find a little bit, Cullen, that the aftermath pods are a little bit more measured than our more emotional kind of, whether for better or for worse, gut reactions.
Yeah, I mean, I'll stay true to the take. I don't think I was being emotional. It's my opinion. He's all the talent in the world to be a number 2 wide receiver, but you can't be a dependable full-time wide receiver 2 in the NFL by dropping that many passes. It's why I go back to the previous comment. He's clutch, but he drops too many. It's really one or the other. If he were to cut out the drops, then I would be entirely sold. I'm about 90% there. I don't know, though, that this opportunity he was ready for, all this pressure, Chad.
Indeed. I mean, I don't know that he was expecting necessarily to be the number 2 guy. Like that was Devon Vele, and then they traded him. It's like, we're trading him because we're ready for you, big dog. Hope you're ready. And I think he's done a modestly good job at trying to answer that bell, but things are still, you can tell, a little bit fast for him, moving a little bit fast. He'll get there. Chris Bell jumping in on Super Chat, dude. Great to see you. Thank you for the support and for being a member, big dog. Said, just catching the ball is key. The big drops make me nervous, especially with the Chiefs right around the corner and them coming off the bye week and the record they carry after a bye. Yeah, much will be made, Zach, of Andy Reid's post-bye record, as always.
Yeah, but again, just like we saw last year, the Broncos should have beaten the Chiefs at Arrowhead. I know I harp on that a lot, but Bo Nix really outdueled Mahomes in that second half. The Broncos defense came into play. So again, Chris, if they just played full 4 quarters to their fullest extent, they can beat Kansas City. They can run the table, as we were talking about earlier.
Chris, dude, thank you, buddy. Really appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to this year's Chiefs matchups. That is for sure. Pro 16, a dear member, says, when it comes to Bo, the mistakes will work themselves out. All that matters is winning. Elway said there are no ugly wins or pretty losses, just results. And I agree. Excellent point there. And that's, it's kind of like what Zach and I were saying after yesterday's game about let Bo be Bo relative to the rushing and all that stuff, letting him kind of move around and stuff is, Sean Payton's got to remember he's not Drew Brees. And by that, I don't mean he doesn't have it in him to be as good as Drew Brees someday or as productive. What I simply mean is he's not a finished product yet. Bo Nix is still ripening on the vine, but he's ripening all the same. And Broncos, Zach, are a lot farther along than I expected him to be when they drafted Bo Nix. I thought what we saw last year was going to be what we got this year. They're way ahead of the curve. And not only that, Zach, I mean, what are they? So 17-9, is that the record of the Sean Payton Bo Nix partnership up to this point? In the NFL, it's pretty dang good, but we got to keep it in perspective, Zach. He's only still a second-year guy. So as much as we want to see perfection, as much as we want to kind of think back to how automatic and easy things seemed back during the Peyton Manning heyday or the tail end of the Elway era, he's not there quite yet.
And even when Drew Brees was a first or second year player, they're just two different quarterbacks, man. I don't know that Bo Nix will ever be as accurate as Drew Brees was. And I don't know that I know that for a fact, Drew Brees was never as athletic as Bo Nix is, as a dual threat, as a running quarterback. So really, Sean Payton has to take the ego and pride out of the equation, commit to the ground game, and dial up pass plays that benefit Bo Nix, not do him a disservice like all the screen passes.
BNS is in the hizzy. Great to see you, big dog. And this is one of those times where your hashtag all pro bowls. I mean, it's looking like reality. Dude has been the best left tackle in the NFL, especially as a pass blocker, but I think he's just as good as a run blocker. But he says, does BNS, pardon me, no sacks, no penalties, few press. I'm not sure what that means, but
Pressures.
Thank you. Few pressures, all pro bowls. Yeah, dude. He let me quote from thank you for the context clues, my friend. From Eric's grades came out today, and he's charting things and going snap by snap, looking at all 11 guys. And on the subject of, let me find him. Garrett Bowles was deemed the offensive MVP of yesterday's game. Talanoa Hufanga was the defensive MVP with a 91.3 grade. Bowles with a 78.6. Trickle, quote, another game of Bowles playing at an elite level and against a tough pair of pass rushers, that's for sure. He allowed 2 pressures on the day, bringing his season total to 7 pressures. So, and of course, he did a good job creating running lane, Zach.
Yeah, this is our old friend, the Bowles News Service, and I'll give you this, BNS. I'm ready to say uncle, I think, on Garrett Bowles, at least for this season. The Protector of the Year award is debuting this season, and I think Garrett Bowles, to be fair, should be a top contender for it. He has been that good, and he has been all-pro caliber. I give him all the credit in the world.
No doubt. So happy to see it, big dog, and happy to see you. Thank you, BNS, my brother. You've been with us a long time. Dude, we got massive love for this O-line. Bo Nix has now been sacked just 9 times this season, and we don't have I haven't seen the game capsule yet, but what was that, third fewest going into week 8 or week 9, pardon me, I want to say. So, I mean, this offensive line, BNS, has been excellent. And Alex Palczewski, credit to him at left guard, because he had a bug. He wasn't feeling well. He could have begged off, but he ended up playing. They had him, here's your own water bottle so no one else drinks this and catches whatever you've got. And he went out there and played. And it wasn't his best performance since he's been at left guard, but it was plenty good.
No, and that's a really good defense they went up against. And maybe I didn't give them enough credit, Houston, going into this game, but they are 1,000% legitimate. So shout out to Palcho, shout out to Bowles. The front 5 was immaculate yesterday.
And by the way, Quinn Miners, whatever was eating at him to start the season, he talked about, what was it, 2 weeks ago, how he had something going on in his personal life, or that he wanted, not in his personal life, but he wanted to keep private, that he's ostensibly now past. And dude, like, his last 3 games have been straight up all pro caliber, back to true form for Quinn Miners. Rock brings up how Brock Bowers, Zach, had 3 touchdown catches yesterday against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which, you see that and you go, oh, you start feeling a little nervous. But let me read you something. So Dre Greenlaw, he's back in the saddle. He played his second game as a Bronco yesterday and finished with one of the highest grades on the team, 87.6. And I'm going to quote Eric here. Denver made getting Greenlaw in the offseason a priority, and his play speaks for itself. While he's been limited in the 2 games he's played, 48 total snaps between the 2 games, he's picked up 2 pressures on 4 blitzes, 13 tackles. He got 1 sack too, remember, for I think it was a no gain sack. And he has not allowed, Zach, a single target to be caught.
Yeah, Ronk, my reaction was kind of based on what Chad was saying there. If Dre Greenlaw will be covering Brock Bowers. I'm not that afraid of the matchup considering how poor Geno Smith looks at quarterback this season. But if Alex Singleton happens to be on Brock Bowers, then I will be clenching my you-know-what throughout the game. We just have to hope that VJ schemes around him. We have to hope the pressure is consistent, Chad, because it doesn't matter who they have at receiver, who they have at tight end, if Geno Smith is running for his life all game.
And yeah, David Barron, they used him not the entire time, but they used him in certain packages to match up with the Ferguson, the Cowboys tight end. You didn't see it so much like that yesterday. I don't know. I think VJ's kind of, and again, I guess one thing to keep in mind is you had PS2 for at least a good chunk of that game against the Cowboys. So I don't know how much his absence impacted him not necessarily shadowing what's his name? What was the tight end yesterday?
Schultz.
So we'll see, but really, really impressed by Barron up to this point. And honestly, Pat Surtain said something on his podcast. I think we touched on it during the week. We wrote about it on the site. I'm sure we talked about it, but on Closed on Sunday, Zach, with Terry and Arnold, he was talking about how Riley Moss is put upon by the refs, and they're like, why do you think he gets so many penalties? And he kind of jokingly is like, basically it's because he's white, etc. And just kind of saying it tongue in cheek, kind of being jokey. Well, lo and behold, it's like someone was listening, Zach, because guess who did not get a PI yesterday? Mm-hmm. Riley Moss. What? That has to be the first game this season that he didn't either get a PI or a defensive holding.
And guess who looked good for another game at cornerback, stepping into a bigger role with PS2 out? Riley Moss. And I tweeted this before the game, and I'll say it for the rest of the season for as long as Riley Moss is a Bronco. If you want to gauge someone's football IQ, just ask their opinion on Riley Moss.
Yeah, no doubt. Zach, the other thing I wanted to get your take on here, because, of course, when we go live for the gut reaction, we're missing most of the time anyway, the post-game podium stuff. And Sean Payton, you were saying yesterday yourself, Zach, like, hey, should Darren Rizzi still be this special teams coordinator? I'm not so sure. Well, when Sean Payton at the podium yesterday, Zach, was asked about special teams and the block kick, in my opinion, he definitely was putting Darren Rizzi on notice with what I'm about to read to you. I'm sure most of you have heard this by this point. However, Scott did bring up something to me last night where it's like, well, it's kind of unclear. Was he kind of aiming his remark toward Rizzi, or was it more towards the players? But here's what he said, asking about the block kick. He kind of cuts in and cuts off the questioner and goes,
block, field goal, obviously, and then
we'll look at that on film. All of that without watching on tape. My concern was just the late subs. It was a little bit sloppy in the kicking game. We'll get that cleaned up, or we'll find someone else that can do it.
Or we'll find someone else who can do it, Zach. How do you interpret what he said?
Well, he made those comments kind of outdated already with today's Zoom press conference when he said it's not the coaching. The coaching's been outstanding, which I don't understand covering for Darren Rizzi, what that's going to serve him, because everyone can see through that, Chad, covering for his boy. He was basically throwing the players under the bus. But if he's talking about substitutions and this and that, isn't that on the coaching? Isn't that the coordinator's job to get them on the field, the right players on the field at the right time? Otherwise, what does Darren Rizzi do? He's another Nathaniel Hackett. He just gets a paycheck for knowing the head coach.
That's definitely Sean Payton, in my opinion. So here's exactly what he said today on the conference call on his concerns regarding special teams. To Scott's point to me last night, are you directing that at the players or the coaches? Quote, I'm referring to players that aren't on the field that need to be. Coaching is outstanding. We'll get that cleaned up. My point is, if there are 10 players on the field and there's supposed to be 11, then that player that's supposed to be out there, I'll find someone else to do his job. So he's definitely trying to reel it in. And hey, give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was just a poor choice of words yesterday, Zach, and a very unspecific way of saying something. Because look, MHH Broncos on SI, we weren't the only ones who interpreted it as a big time shot at Darren Rizzi. So you could see that he was, in my opinion, reeling it in a little bit there. Michaela Israel, what's up? Good to see you. Coop, what's going on? Becoming a member, shout out. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Michaela. Good to see you. I just want to put a bow on the special teams conversation for a second, Chad. I was looking through the post-game notes and quotes that we get, and the team reported that JT Gray made his Broncos debut yesterday. And if you guys recall, JT Gray was the all-pro special teamer the Broncos signed, former Saint. So he was playing. Most of the Broncos personnel moves, the 53-man roster moves they've made, have been with special teams in mind. So how is that still on the players? At what point is this on Darren Rizzi, considering most of the same personnel was in place last season and Ben Kawika got by just fine?
Well, the coaching has been outstanding, really. Let's just take one simple case study and go back to week 2, the leverage penalty. Now, we can sit here and agonize back and forth over whether the Broncos were being unfairly kind of punished there by the refs, and you see a leverage type of play on almost all the kicks, yada, yada, yada. And Rizzi made sure to kind of point that out when he was reacting to it later in that following week. But listen to, if you guys think back to, I forget the lineman's name, that Colts lineman who noticed this tendency of the Broncos on tape, not historical Broncos, Darren Rizzi, so dating back to Saints tape, certain tendencies with certain types of kicks. And he guessed right, and he kind of baited Dondre Tillman into what happened. If you're that obvious, Zach, to where they can pick out the tendencies and anticipate in a critical moment, it literally cost you the game. That's one. I could right now list off 3 or 4 others just off the top of my head that don't point to player. I mean, maybe it's not right to say that don't point to players, but rather where it's not just player execution. It's clearly coaching, whether it's communication, technique, whatever. I mean, even the Marvin Mims thing last week, which he fell on that sword, but it almost cost him a game yesterday when you had Bandy fumble and give the Texans 3 points.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, we never really actually got an explanation as to why Sean Payton fired Ben Kotwika and hired Darren Rizzi beyond the fact that he knew Rizzi. But we can assume it was either the Chiefs' gaffe with foresight last season, the Tremont Smith play against the Chargers. But even then, that's only 2. Darren Rizzi, as you mentioned, Chad, has already had at least 3 mess-ups. I almost said a bad word there, and he still has a job. So how is it outstanding? Like you were saying there, it's so transparently dishonest from Sean Payton.
Sean Payton realized last night, he probably wasn't too aware of what he was saying in the moment, but he was at least probably cognizant enough to be expressing his displeasure at 2 major special teams gaffes. I would throw 3 in with that 1 punt return that basically counted for one of those Texans field goals. And then he probably, got home. Someone probably fed him a couple of articles today because they pay attention to this stuff. And he went, oh man, it's a bad look for a 7-2 team and winners of 6 to have the head coach saying anything that calls one of his coordinators out on the carpet. This ain't good. I got to walk it back. Now, do I know that for a fact? No, I'm just telling you my speculation on why we got him today, specifically castigating the players, blaming the players, Zach, and saying that Darren Rizzi's coaching has been, as you mentioned, outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, they're winners of 6 straight now, but there might not be a winners of 7 or might not be a winners of 8 or whatever if they don't correct the special teams issues. It's only a matter of time before Darren Rizzi cost the Broncos another game.
He is, Rizzi, a Peyton guy. And it's kind of weird how bad it's been this year, Zach, because he was a coveted guy in terms of the coaching cycle. The Saints genuinely thought about hiring him as the head coach because he was the interim guy after they fired Dennis Allen. It's one of the developments this year that has been the most surprising, whether positive or negative surprises. I'm just saying generally did not expect special teams to be taking multiple steps backward. And when you're in this many close games, and the NFL, that's kind of how it goes, right? The close game thing, that's what it is. you can't afford to have your special teams not be on point.
It's a game of inches. It really is. It's not just a cliche. And you can't give the other team those inches or feet, in this case, literally and figuratively, by those gaffes on special teams. Again, it's only a matter of time before this winning streak comes crashing down because of Darren Rizzi.
By the way, the observation that Riley Moss was not penalized yesterday and how noteworthy that was, Mr. Producer dug it up. Moss, before yesterday, Moss had at least one penalty, often multiple in a game, right? But at least one penalty in 6 of the preceding 7 games. So I'm telling you, I think it had something to do with what Surtain said, even though with what he said, he was doing so in jest. Even if it wasn't out of like paranoia that the NFL refs don't want to be perceived as profiling anybody, the fact that it called into focus how off kilter the number of penalties that have been directed at him specifically, and they're kind of like, okay, yeah, that doesn't look good, and we need to pull it back. I think it had something to do. That's just a theory, but I think Pat Surtain had something to do with Riley Moss going a full game without getting called anything.
Yeah, even when PS2 is inactive, he's still making plays for the Broncos defense. I don't know that it's racial profiling so much as just profiling Riley Moss as the whipping boy on the other side of the defensive player of the year. I don't think Cooper DeJean in Philadelphia, Chad, is getting as many penalties as Riley Moss. DeJean is also white, so it's just a Broncos issue, I think.
And they're both go Nick, Iowa, both Hawkeyes, right? For what it's worth. So, all right, let me see here. We got the Mile High Dutchie in the house saying, Bo said it himself during the presser. Doesn't matter how the Broncos win. It is preparing them for the playoffs. And it's preparing them, frankly, Albert, for payoffs as well. Payoffs equal playoffs or vice versa. But yeah, that is something he talked about that. And honestly, Zach, it dates back to, I think, the Philadelphia game, but then it just was exacerbated in the best sense of the word with that 33-point comeback against the Giants. They believe they can accomplish anything now. There is no mountain high enough that they can't overcome and summit. Like, this team is fully believing. So even if it's ugly, and he even said, it hasn't looked good at times, we believe we can still get it done regardless of the situation.
They're tied, the Broncos are, for the most fourth quarter comeback wins in the NFL and the most fourth quarter points in the NFL. If they could just figure out the offense from quarters 1 through 3, they are going to be damn near unstoppable. And that's not a homeristic take.
Here comes Chase. Good to see one of our members that bringing up this Thursday night game. He says, I say this every year. The Raiders play the Broncos harder than they play any other team. It's their Super Bowl every year. There's a lot of truth to that. I think it also depends a little bit on the coaches. When Gruden was the head coach, 2 different stints, like, he was there long enough. And I think also just kind of got it that Bronco rivalry, the history of it meant something to him. And so he would get his team up for that. I mean, how many straight did Gruden win before he stepped down or / was fired? I think it was 6 or 7 in a row or whatever. So there was something to what you're saying. Now, will it be the same for Pete Carroll? I think so, probably. Richard Anderson, we got a new member. Welcome to the manger, homeboy. We need you. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Richard. And yeah, Chase, put yourself in the Raiders' shoes. How many times were the Broncos 2-6 or whatever, and they were facing a really good Chiefs team with the opportunity to spoil their playoff seeding? We all relished in that. So yeah, the Raiders are going to be up for this game on prime time in the Broncos' house. They would want nothing more than to defeat Denver, and that's why the Broncos absolutely cannot overlook this game. So
we have here from one of our dear members, Pearl, the comment that it might be snowing on Thursday. Is that what is she talking about, Thursday? I don't know. I'll have to look at the weather report on that, but let me see here. Where are we at time-wise? We're at 38 minutes. We're doing pretty good. And Black's in the house. What's up, brother? Here to party as always. Can we all just be thankful we're not Cowboys fans? Zach, you spent some time on that beat. how do you are you glad that you didn't end up staying long enough to get too invested in that club?
Yeah, because it's a perpetual cycle of mediocrity. They're never going to be truly horrific enough to get a top pick to rebuild properly. They're never going to be good enough to contend for anything and win anything for the first time since 1995. So Mblex is correct here. Let's all be thankful we cheer for the Broncos.
They're down 10-0 on Monday Night Football. So, and I'm pissed because, I use YouTube TV. I did away with like Direct TV and Dish and all that stuff a long time ago. And so I use YouTube TV, and they're currently in some kind of bargaining quarrel with Disney. And since ESPN is owned by Disney, any Disney channels currently are not available for like a week. It's been maybe less than a week. So I'm not able to actually watch that particular game live. So thanks for the update there, Mblex. Colin, the media is making Chris Abrams-Drain out to be a dirty player for the Stroud hit, and Coach Ryans fed into it yesterday. So annoying. I didn't catch what D'Amico Ryans may have said, Zach, but Abrams-Drain, first of all, wasn't dirty. He had already begun his launch at the quarterback before, these things are flash bang, right? They're boom, boom. These things happen in synapses firing, right? And he had already begun to fire when CJ Stroud goes, okay, I'm going to slide. And he did not hit him in the head. He hit him in the shoulder, and it was his ricochet into the dirt that caused the concussion. So I feel for him. I don't think it was dirty. I know you're saying it wasn't, Colin, but how Ryans, maybe it was just the bitterness of the disappointment of the loss and losing your quarterback and probably thinking, man, we could have won it if we had our cue. Even though I'll say Davis Mills, he played a lot better than I expected him to.
Yeah, I give the Texans a lot of credit. They battled a lot harder than I thought they would after losing Stroud, and that could have been a season-ending loss for them, Chad, if you look at the standings. So I don't really blame D'Amico Ryans for the comments that he made. He basically said that it was a dirty hit by Chris Abrams-Drain, that CJ Stroud was sliding, and that it should have been a flag. But we all know how much the NFL hates the Broncos. We all know how much NFL referees hate the Broncos. The fact that the call, unnecessary roughness, was overturned by replay says it all. It was not a dirty hit. It was a bang-bang play, and it was just a bad place, bad time for Abrams-Drain and CJ Stroud.
Exactly, Brandon. So led with his shoulder. So yeah, Colin, that's part of my problem is I go, oh, well, I won't watch it on ESPN. Let me find ABC. Duh. Both are owned by Disney, so I was screwed on YouTube TV. I want my money back, YouTube. Just kidding. It's a rare thing. I'm not genuinely displeased with them. Okay, Zach, a couple other things I want to cover today. Sean Payton was asked today about trades. He said, hey, do you believe, Coach, that making a trade would send a message to the team that you're all in? He said, quote, we would never make a trade to send a message to the team. So whoever asked that, he gave him the Peyton, slam there. Everyone in the locker room, our players, coaches, management, front office knows that we're all in to win. The trade would take place, this supposed trade, if we found value in something that could help us, period. That's it. We're not looking to send a message, close quote. What do you make of it?
Sounds like something a person sending a message would say, Chad, but on the real, I don't know that they're actually going to make a trade before tomorrow's deadline. If it could happen, anything's possible. I think anyone the Broncos would be interested in, someone like Olave or Jalen Waddle, they're going to be just too expensive for what the Broncos want to do, and they'll commit to the likes of Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant for the remainder of the season.
So is this breaking news, Mr. Producer? The Titans, according to Adam Schefter, are sending Draymond Jones. Everybody remembers the former Broncos third-round pick. The Titans are sending Jones to the Ravens for a conditional fifth-round pick. So he's going from garbage town in terms of just how bad that football team is, Zach, to slightly less garbage town. The injury bug has decimated the Ravens' chances this year. Although they're not eliminated, Lamar's back, all that stuff, they still got a chance. Jones, your gut reaction heading to Baltimore?
It sounds like a kind of a desperation move from a Baltimore Ravens team that's just trying to save their season and trying to get any warm body they can. I'm so happy the Broncos chose Zach Allen over signing Draymond Jones. Chad, Zach Allen will go down as one of the best free agent signings in Broncos franchise history. Draymond Jones, I think, will go down as one of the bigger draft busts relative to expectations in recent Broncos history.
How's Draymond? I gotta check this out. How's he been doing this season? He started all 9 games. We saw him in the season opener. 4.5 sacks. That surprises me. 4.5 sacks. So he's on pace for threatening double digits. His career high was his final year in Denver, 6.5 sacks, which actually tied his second year too. So he hit 6.5 twice as a Bronco. His career high since leaving Denver, Zach, 4.5, and he's tied that so far this season. So you go, Draymond.
Yeah, wish him well over in Baltimore.
Tucson Phil and the Hizzy, and guys, we're getting close to the sign-off, so any burning questions, topics, supers, get them in the chat. We will get to it before we go. But we got Tucson Phil here checking in on Facebook. Thank you, brother. He says, good evening, Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott. Time changes kills me. LOL. Sorry I'm late. Just curious if we have fired Darren Rizzi yet. Are we picking up anyone before the trade deadline? Buckham, MHH for life, Broncos for life. Well, buddy, you'll have to rewind to see all the Rizzi scuttlebutt. But I don't think the Broncos are making a trade. But been wrong before. I don't see it. I think they're in pretty good position. And, salary cap, they only have a little bit more than $5 million in current available salary cap space. Doesn't mean they couldn't make that part of a deal with the team and whatnot, but I don't see it. I don't think they're desperate enough at any position to give up future draft capital sitting at 7-2. But again, been wrong before.
I think the only trade they would have considered would be something for a blocking tight end, number 3 tight end after losing Kroll and Nate Adkins. And they filled that spot by signing Mercedes Lewis, who Sean Payton, Chad, was really pleased with in yesterday's game.
And he did look good. The few snaps that he got, just that tone set. First of all, he's good at what he does in that blocking domain, but just that physical, that energy, and that it's just a nice thing to have. So really it comes down to how much you want to believe the smoke or fire aspect of all the wide receiver talk. And I think it's more smoke than fire, but time will tell here in the near future. The deadline's tomorrow at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. So we'll find out soon, Zach.
Yeah, we'll be on KK tomorrow afternoon as well. So check back then. We'll have the latest on the Broncos trade rumors.
That's right. So the new members like Richard, Michaela, for members only, Kelberman's Korner tomorrow at noon Mountain Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And look forward to that. And then we got some other stuff coming for members later this week as well. So, guys, we got a few messages for you. Then we're going to take one last look at the chat before we dip. So don't go anywhere.
Another tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on X at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle. Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out mhhmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at Mile_High_Huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you. All right. Sam Bam 1999 Super. No, still muted. All right, Sam 1999 Super. Thank you so much. I think we got this. Oh, we're doing the shout outs at the end. Let's see if Chad's back yet. No, it's still muted.
How about now?
There we go.
That was the weirdest thing, dude. I didn't touch anything. I didn't even touch my microphone. That was weird.
It's the ghost of streaming.
Man, what I was saying, sorry, guys. I don't know what that was. Thank you, Scott, for jumping in. Zach, You know, you can always say something too, my dog. Kayaka, I was saying, it's good to see you, bro. Kayaka in the chat. And also, Mile High Salute, special shout out to the great Super Chat Superstar supporters helping us keep the lights on. Sam Bam, my brother. Getting the Texas sweep. Love it. David Yunkin, Papa Bear, Colin, Hugh in the house, George, Taylor Christensen, Chris Bell, BNS, Michaela becoming an actual member, but she's been part of the family for a long time. Shout out to Cooper. Richard Anderson in the fold. Love it. Welcome. And Black's in the house. Colin, Tucson Phil. Much love and respect, guys. They're rocking are the Broncos, the throwbacks Thursday night. So it's going to look like a classic Zach AFC West throwdown, Broncos Raiders. Can't wait.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow for KK. We'll see you Thursday for the gut reaction after the game. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.